Kagan Hopkins asks, do you adjust the range of outcomes in your builds depending on if it's a large or small slate, or do you keep it around the same no matter what? All the settings, I went over this yesterday, all the settings in Lineup HQ, which is a premium tool you could get if you sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Click on the link in the description. You get 10% off your first month, $10 off, or 10%. You get something. You get something your first month. You're using a calculator. So if you need to use range of outcomes, then use range of outcomes. If you don't, then don't use it. Like, what lineups do you want to build? Are you getting them? Yes, then who cares? Are you not getting them? Oh, maybe I need to add some more randomness so I get more diverse lineups. So I'm not getting the lineups that I want. There's no magic settings that you can put in. There's none. When I was building 100 lineups per slate, if I did a screen share, a capture of this screen, every slate, it would all look different every slate. Okay? Try to get that 3 ahead. Okay? Because we get these questions all the time. What setting do you use? No, there's no such thing as what setting. I'll show you what some slates look like. Here's what some slates look like. I'll show you here. Here's an example of the end of something. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. I'm producing 100 lineups. Sometimes I'm producing sets of 50 lineups, so that's not even the sense. Maybe I'm doing 2, 7% here, 50% guard. Maybe it's this. This is what it looks like at the end. Me doing everything. Then the next day, it looks like this. Sometimes it looks like that. I don't even have ownership set up, or I have 13%. Who knows? 15%. And it looks like this with me jamming in power forwards. 2 unique play. Maybe I have 3. Maybe I need more diversification. Here's the next day. That's optimal. This is at 3. This goes down there. And sometimes it looks like just that. Sometimes it looks just like that. Sometimes I have a minimum set because I'm getting 2 contrarian lineups, right? And my max is just whatever the hell it is. It doesn't matter. I have to put in a number there and no range of outcomes. What lineups do I want to make? I need to tell Lineup HQ to make those lineups. I'm not starting from the point of, I don't know what to do. Let me put in some settings and see what happens. Like, no. At the point of me building the lineups, I already know what I'm going to do. I've already curated my player pool. I've already visualized what type of builds I want, what groups I have, and everything. And then I have to go, okay, in order to fit all these pieces together, what settings do I have to put in to get these types of lineups? And then you run it once and you go, okay, I'm nowhere close. Okay, I guess I need to set an exposure here and move that there and do this. Okay, now I'm getting a little bit closer. And then set a setting there. And every slate's going to be different. That's one thing that, I'll highlight like over and over again on this show. It's not about settings. Settings don't matter. What you should do as an exercise, hand build 20 lineups. Just hand build them. Hand build 20 lineups. Do it as practice. Hand build them. Now you have your 20 lineups that you want to play. Those are the lineups you want to play. Now go into Lineup HQ and make those lineups. Get that exact set of 20. You're likely not going to get the exact 20, but you should come close. If you know how to use the tool, you go, well, I have John Wall in half my lineups. Okay, I'm going to set 50% there. Oh, this guy has to fit with that guy. And I don't have any lineups that have 2 of these guys in it, so I have to set a group for that. So use whatever settings you need to use in order to get those 20 lineups. There you go. That's how you should be using Lineup HQ. That's why it's not about the settings. Sometimes you're going to need to use some of these settings that I'm getting way too much You know, like you have an issue where you're getting way too many point guards, right? Because a lot of point guards project well, and you're playing a lot of centers for leverage, right? It's kind of like, oh, everyone's paying up at point guard, and you're paying down, and you're playing double big center, and you want to build those types of lineups. Well, if you don't set anything, it's going to start jamming in point guards. So if you want more double center lineups, you're going to have to set this higher, right? You're going to have to if you have too few small forwards in your player pool, and you don't want to play 80% of one cheap small forward, but you have a bunch of power forwards. Well, make sure the forward utility is set at like 80%. You may need that. If you see that it's jamming in Cam Reddish or some cheap small forward because you only have like 3 available small forwards, and it's giving you them in the small forward spot as well as in the forward utility spot. So you're like, no. I want more of the power forwards, even though they project poorer. But I just don't want in 50 lineups to have 42 of that small forward. So what do? Well, you could decrease the exposure on that small forward, or you could use one of the global settings and set it so it's like, I don't want 100% power forward. But then you know that if you set 100% power forward, now you're going to start getting more exposure on your power forwards. There may be one power forward that median projection is higher than the others, and you start getting a ton of that guy. So now you have to go in and you have to max his cap, cap his max to 20 or something, whatever you need, just so you start getting less of him, so you get the other power forwards. And that's only if you leave it on optimal, on 0%, because it's just going to take whoever's the highest median and try to jam in and make you the best lineups. So even if at that point you're still getting too much of a guy, or you're not getting the lineups you want, maybe you increase the range of outcomes. So it's kind of starts ignoring the median and kind of giving you a range. So maybe you could start getting the lineups that you want from there. So you could end up like this. This could be the end. And then you're saying, I'm not getting the right leverage plays in. It's still giving me like too much chalk. You're building 50 lineups, and it's giving you like chalky lineups at the top, and contrarian, all your contrarian players are in like the same lineups together at the bottom. So maybe you have to cap your ownership. Maybe at whatever it is. It could be 120 on that slate. Who knows? Who knows what the number is on that specific slate? You see that these chalky lineups all have cumulative ownership of like 150. And the ones at the bottom have a cumulative ownership of like 60. It's like, no. I want like a mix of that. So if you're getting that, maybe blunt tool. You just 120, right? Maybe you set the minute at 80 and you go, okay, I just want those types of lineups. I see them in the middle. I want more of those. Sometimes you don't need to use it. Sometimes by the time you do it, you're good. You don't need to use that. You don't need to use some of these things. Sometimes you do. So that's why the settings are all in the basis of what lineups that you want to make. There's like one big graphing calculator. It's like one big all these settings. It's like, well, the calculator's sitting there waiting for you to tell it what to do. If you don't tell it anything, it's just going to start jamming in median fantasy points. That's all it's going to do until you tell it otherwise. So don't focus on settings. Focus on building lineups. Once you're good at lineup construction and you can understand what makes good lineups in the contest that you're playing, now instead of playing 5 lineups, now you can play 50 lineups, and you have an efficiency tool in order to do that in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes versus 5 hours. Imagine building 150 lineups by hand. You can. Just understand that the settings are there for what you need them to do. There's no like, what are my settings versus what is Chop settings? What's Squirrel Patrol settings? It's always going to be different.